Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Richard Morco, and this is the Long Hill Report. And by way of introducing today's show, I will speak of an incident that occurred, well, very, very long ago. I was a little boy, and some pancakes had been put on my plate. And there was a can of a liquid, very sweet liquid, and I was pouring it on the pancakes. And my father looked over, and in his usual dry wit, he said, "Wouldn't you like a little pancakes with that maple syrup?" I was known to just pour and pour, and without any regret. And the taste of maple syrup is something I have loved all my life. And if you're from New England, I hope you do too, because it's one of the great pleasures that you can have. And today we are very fortunate to have with us Martha Bryanton and Tom Mead, who are the impresarios of Bucket List Maple Syrup. And right now we've grabbed them away from the sugar house where they have been working diligently to produce some grade A. And I'd like to ask them to talk about what they do. First of all, do you have any thoughts on the history of how maple syrup is made?
Well, it's pretty fascinating. It's a fascinating history. The Indians, of course, led the way. What I learned during the Civil War is that syrup wasn't made so much as sugar was made, which amazed me, because the blockade, they didn't have sugar coming into the country from the southern ports were blocked, so New England people made their own sugar. And syrup was an afterthought, you know.
Well,
That's something I learned.
so do you have any idea when syrup caught on?
I think it caught on, and I was just reading something in our Maple Digest, which is a great book, a great pamphlet to read if you really want to get to sleep, you know, normally. But it's the history. They had a little brief history of the pans and the manufacture of pans, and I'd say it was a Civil War. They started steadily evolving the pans to boil down the syrup.
So it was a progressive thing. First, there was just boil and boil and boil, and then the pans got a little more sophisticated.
It got away from the kettles like you would see at Sturbridge Village,
Yep.
and it went into a machinery that was designed specifically to boil down syrup.
I would hope so, because when we first, like everybody, you come out to the country, you move out to, say, West Brookfield, and you say, maybe I'll try that. And I tried it on a wood stove, and I was a young man when I started the first boil, and I was an old man when it was finished.
Yeah.
And it's not the most efficient way to do it.
No, that's how we started in the backyard. You know, we had cinder blocks, and we put sand in the cinder blocks so they wouldn't crack, and then we had flat pans. And, you know, it would take a day to get a quart. So eventually I said to Martha, I'd like to do this, but I'd like to get a little more efficient, a little more productive. And so we ended up going for an evaporator and a sugar house. So we moved the operation inside from outside, and we got a much better product, and we got a much more efficient use of our time. Yeah.
And I know I know the product is good, and I also know that all over the country your product is appreciated, because we sent it to New York, we sent it to Oklahoma, we sent it to Washington State, and rave reviews.
It's so gratifying. That's one of the things, the big things for me, starting a business and trying to change the hobby into a business, is to get the confidence to sell our product. It's a big thing. You know, is it good enough? Or, you know, are people going to want it? And it's been gratifying.
Yeah.
We have people down south in Louisiana. My sister lives down there, and her boyfriend they rave about it. They can't get enough of it down there. So
And that's the funny thing. Like we people from New England, we know it,
yeah,
but it's a culture shock
yeah,
for people who are not around here. And like I'm a beekeeper, so I like honey, but gosh, maple syrup. A lot of places they don't know that. So when they get it,
yeah.
whoa,
Yeah.
that is something to
It's
have.
special. It is. You only have a short window of time to make it too, and that's what makes it so special. It's the first run could be sometime in January, and then we're looking now. After this week, we could be done. So there's a short window of time you have to get the sap right and boil it down.
Now that's one thing I've always heard. It's the temperature conditions
Yeah.
outside
Yeah.
and that govern the flow. What has happened this year? What was the flow like? Has been like, and what is it that's making you say, "Oh, end of the week, we're done"?
Well, it's a combination of a lot of things, but the trees are budding. We noticed coming down here. Where did we see those? In Charlton, or
Maybe,
I think
yeah,
it was
Worcester area?
yeah. Well, just coming down on 31, I think we noticed that the trees were budding. Where we are on Long Hill, they're not budding quite yet, but it's progressing northward quickly.
Sort of like the foliage season in a way.
Exactly. And so we have a series of days coming up now where it's going to get in the 50s or 60s or what have you, and usually that brings the buds out in the tree. So even though you might get a below freezing temperature at night, it's over. Because what happens is the sap gets very bitter, it gets very bitter tasting, and it's not suitable to make syrup anymore. A lot of the sugar and the nutrients are going up to make the leaves of the
Right.
trees.
That
So-
sounds logical and
Yeah.
reasonable.
So there is a window, and that's part of what makes it special, Plus, it's a time of year for me personally. It's a good time to get outside. Everybody wants to get out. You want to get out.
Yeah.
You had cabin fever. Let's get out. Let's do something. The kids got us started with it, and of course they want nothing to do
No,
with it
they
now.
don't, they don't really help out much.
So they've moved on.
Gee, wicked shocker, as they say in Boston.
Wicked shock, yeah. But it's that it does. That's part of what makes it special, is because it's so rare. You get such a short time period to produce it.
Well, I've always said about meteorology, when some prediction doesn't go right, that it's an art and not a science.
Yeah.
So I know all the steps that, every, probably UMass has a department where they study
Yeah.
making maple syrup,
Yes.
but when the rubber hits the road,
Yeah.
it's the artisanship that is all important.
This season has been, to answer your question a little farther, this season has been funny because it was so cold for such a long time, and it was cold at night, but then it was also cold during the day, extremely cold. So the trees wouldn't run. So then you get a couple days where it was warm at night and warm during the day. You say, oh, what's going to happen? Nothing. You got to have it. It has to be just so. And, so it's been a different year. I talked to a friend who stopped by the house yesterday, very knowledgeable guy, and we spoke about sugar content and how that makes it, that can make and break your season. Common wisdom is it's 40 gallons of sap to make a gallon of syrup.
Yeah, I've heard that.
This season, with the sugar content, he actually had a tool that could measure that. And he measured our sap. It was 1.5 and 1.6. Well, not to get too technical, but because I don't understand all that. What that means is it's 55 to 60 gallons of sap. So that means more time boiling, more wood, and that makes it even more precious,
Yeah.
So we're going to raise our prices.
No, I think we're doing good
We're
right
doing
now.
good.
Well, I wouldn't blame you. It's
No.
a premium product,
Thank you.
but you're right. I mean, it's that art and all that syrup, the sap to make so little syrup.
Yeah.
It's no wonder that you don't see it on every super. We have the no longer Aunt Jemima, of course, but
Right.
Log Cabin and all those things
Right.
that are not really maple syrup
Yeah.
that they pretend, and the taste doesn't compare.
Anytime you take something like you get away from like we're small producers, and we do what they call small batch, producing, and it's like anything else. It's like beer, everybody today wants that taste
Yeah.
above all else, the quality of the product, and anytime you get bigger and bigger and bigger, you're buying a blend of syrups. You're not getting from one place, or you're not getting from a local producer. You're getting a blend of things that someone thinks tastes the way they want it to taste. So
That's true, yeah. So, how long ago did you said your kids? How long ago did you start getting into it?
I'd say what, 20 years, 25 years?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
20,
Yeah.
25 years, yeah.
And when did that beautiful sugar that we can see from the street, when did that go up?
That went up 5 years ago now, 6 years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah. It
That
was
really cold,
a
cold
real
winter.
cold winter, yeah.
With the polar vortex that was here for like 2 months. Well, that's when we decided to build the sugar house.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah. Did I mention I'm Irish too? And that's another thing. We don't have any sugar maples on our property either. And my wife is fond to remind me that let's start a business. Let's have a maple syrup business without any of our own trees. So, but anyhow, yeah, it was about 5 or 6 years ago. Very cold winter. Our neighbor Mark W. down the street was kind enough to take the lead. We built it over the course of the winter, and we actually bought an evaporator and made syrup that year. We just made it. We had 15 gallons that first year.
The learning curve is there. You got to do it. You got to start somewhere.
Yep.
But that building looks nice. It's really
Mark did a great job.
yeah.
I just tried to help as much as I could by staying out of his way. But he did a great job. He modeled it. He has a barn similar to that, and it's just a classic design. And it's, it wasn't what I was thinking of at first, but like everything else, you evolve and you get it done.
It works.
Yeah.
I got a question. The Bucketless maple syrup land. I see that big platform. There's a platform up.
Right near the road.
Yeah. I got to ask. Are you going to start giving sermons or something?
That's a good idea. No, we were going to look at the sunset. That's about the
it's a
only
work in
place.
progress.
We have that hill behind our
Yes,
house, and the sun goes down pretty early, and we go up to that top of the hill right there near the road. We can actually see a little bit of the sunset. That's the plan.
Okay.
You
So
know.
there'll be
Maybe have a collation and go up at the end of the day and
have
relax.
little chairs and the mint juleps
And
or
a roof.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
That's the idea.
I was wondering because I don't know whether you were.
We had it set up farther down the hill, and that was for the grandkids, but they really weren't interested.
Yeah, it was a tree house.
It was kind of a treehouse thing, so I moved the platform toward the road,
Okay.
and
See,
it's going to be Grandma and I were going to be.
so just
enjoy
looking
it.
at it, I'm wondering, is he going to start rabble rousing or something?
No,
I mean,
no.
you got to get them to start, the cars to stop, so you can get your crowd.
We used to have the evaporator, so-called, near the street, and Mr. Chase. He used to come by, and he'd say, "What are you making up there? You got a distillery going, do you?" And the steam would be rising, and more people would stop and just ask, what was
what are you
going on?
doing?
What are you doing? And it was fun.
Well, no, I'm not suggesting this, and of course, it's probably speaks to my feeble mind, but I'm thinking, it's like years ago they said the Dunkin' Donuts business model, they had to do something else because they had this building and they were only doing things like donuts and coffee in the morning, so they expanded other ideas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, you're only in the doing the maple syrup.
Syrup, yeah.
So there you got Mr. Chase giving you the why not in the other parts of the year make the small batch,
Small
small
batch.
batch
Little poutine.
poachine or
Yeah,
something. Yeah,
right.
poachine. For those of you not conversant with peasant culture over in another country, is an illegal wet whiskey made usually with potatoes.
Yeah.
But I know we wouldn't be doing anything like
No, no, no. There's so many things that we can do, and I look forward to trying those. Sugar is something we could try to do.
sugar with from the syrup.
Yeah,
Maple
yeah.
sugar,
You
yeah.
just have to continue boiling down more, and you'll get sugar.
Is that a cellar? Is it a different flavor from regular sugar?
It's hard to describe. It's the same flavor, I think, but it's just a candy. You know, it's a candy. Then you can get. I don't really want to make granulated sugar, but we could do that. But maple sugar is the candy is very popular today with people.
Really?
Yeah, very profitable too. They tell me so.
But it means buying a lot more equipment,
Yeah,
which
more equipment.
we're doing a lot of anyway
Yes.
recently.
Yes, we every year we've tried to do a little bit more to make things go smoother. I think you were happy with the canner finisher this year.
Yeah,
We bought a
yeah.
box and we put it on top, and we got a gas stove in the house, and we put the box on there, and we can heat the syrup, finish syrup. I'm finishing it in the sugar house this year,
Yeah, instead
which
of
is
on the stove.
much appreciated by Grandma, and and then we work together. We use jars, of course, you know that.
Yes.
We put it in the mason jars.
They
And
were nice enough to give you their jars. You didn't have to do the handshake or anything.
What's that?
Mason jars.
Yes,
What?
yes, yes.
Took you long.
Canning jars. you could
Canning
call it.
jars. And so we worked together at the stove, and we were able to really crank out the pints and the quarts and the half pints.
And here's a great invention that comes with that new technology in our house. It has a spigot, so you can control how much goes in the jar instead of me lifting a big pan and pouring it into the jar. And
Life
that
just
gets
gets
old.
better. Life
Innovation,
just gets
innovation.
better.
I told her to stick
Yes.
with me, and we'd have a canner finisher on the stove. But it's working. Every year we tried something new, and
Yeah.
this year we bought a vacuum pump. Actually, we evolved from buckets and plastic pails. We still have buckets, but we have a pipeline now too that we were able to get to up in North Brookfield, and we're very pleased with that. It's working well. We put a vacuum on part of it, and that helps to pull the sap down the hill. So we're trying something new all the time to try to, get more sap and make more syrup. So
Well, it's work. I hope it works.
yeah, we don't want to get too big.
No.
No, I understand. Either that, you'll have to probably threaten your children to
That's
bring
right.
them back.
Right,
and-
get back to home and work.
You have to be very discreet about that because child services,
They frown on that. Yes.
yeah, I had to unshackle my children. And it was,
Is that what those rings were on the tree? Yeah.
I'm just glad nobody got the pictures.
Yep.
So, this is 25 years ago that you started this.
Yes.
And it's just completely progressing little by little.
Little by little, yeah. Improvements. It took us until about 5 or 6 years ago. We were just backyard producers, nothing. And now we're
Selling it.
we're selling it. Once we put the sugar house up, we said, okay, we've done this long enough. I think we might be able to sell our product, and it's been very gratifying. Like I said before, receive the praise that we get.
I can attest that you deserve every bit of praise you get.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Now, about the trees that you get, just to tap.
Yeah.
Are you sneaking into people's yards, drilling the taps in,
No,
and
we
then
have
putting the vines?
the pipeline I mentioned to you is on the Combs property in North Brookfield, and Shaler was a
I
sugar
remember
maker.
Shaler.
Yep, He just passed a few months ago, 3 months ago, excuse me. And the basic bones of the pipeline were there. It's a wire, stretched wire cable, and you suspend a plastic tubing from it, and then you bring other tubing into that, and then tubing into that to the tree. To take you up there sometime.
I would
show
like to,
you.
yeah.
So we replaced all his old tubing. I think he bought it at Spags. You know,
That's a
long
long
ago?
time
it's a
ago.
long time ago. So you can only got so many years to use that,
Yeah.
and then you have to kind of throw it out.
Well,
So
it-
we put all new tubing up there, and again that was an investment, and you know, things were a little rocky at home for a while there with that, but we made it, and that gathers all the sap and brings it right down into one tank
So you don't
instead
have,
of walking around with the buckets and the 5-gallon pails.
well, I have a picture of, I've seen the picture of it. It was probably in Yankee magazine or something about old grizzled Yankee with his ox cart and his
Oh, yeah.
buckets, and
Oh, yeah.
and he's going to every tree and everything. At least you don't have to do that.
We're trying. You still got to drill the holes.
Yeah.
You still got to, we try to replace our spouts every year. That's recommended practice. Keep the bacteria down. The bacteria forms at the spouts, and that can help close the hole
Yeah.
faster, so you get a shorter season.
So
Okay.
you can't sterilize them. It's just a.
You really can't. It's plastic. If
Oh,
you
they're
had
plastic?
if you're stainless steel, you could clean them over and
Yeah.
over again, but they're expensive. So you have the expense versus utility. There's a lot of money you can spend on making maple syrup. We try to be balanced. We try to, hold the reins, but it can get out of hand sometimes.
Well, I remember going to something, a talk by a goat guy who kept goats. I think it's goats. No, he was tuning sheep, I think. And his last words were, "There's really a lot of money in agriculture and farming, and I got the bills to prove it."
Yeah, that's it.
So,
That's it.
I'm always thinking about that myself. If we every
Yeah.
beginning of every spring,
Yeah.
can I get away without spending some? So I can imagine what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Every time you're writing a check or a credit card or
Well,
something.
one year we decided we got a flat pan, and it was thinner, and the heat came up and heated the sap faster, and that was a huge improvement. And then I decided, well, I'm going to get a tank to go in the back of my truck, so we can put all the buckets and gather all the sap that way. But then I needed a bigger truck, So it's one thing, after the other, and one thing leads to another, and if you're not careful, you can kind of get a little bit out of hand.
Yes, I'm well aware of that, and
Yeah. Some call it a sickness or a disease or obsession.
I think I think obsession. It's not sickness or disease. It's
Yeah.
if it's not if it's an obsession, yeah, maybe it's just an interest, and
That's
not
all.
just an interest, but an interest. And certainly, it is an interesting subject.
Yeah.
So, in the short time span this year, are we going to get are you going to be able to satisfy your public, or?
We're going to have to see. I mean, it looks like
Yeah.
we're going to end up making, right now we're about we've made half of what we made last year.
Half of what you
Yep.
made last year.
And we have a little more in the pipeline. We got a little bit, and we got 4 days maybe left to get more sap and make more syrup. So we're probably going to, and I think it's the first year we've had it, will go down in productivity. But that's the nature of the business. That's the
Yeah.
nature of farming, and that's the nature of
It is.
of the weather and Mother Nature. And we'll see how it goes. I think we'll have enough. We sold all our syrup last year. We were very gratified to do that. Every year is different. We'll sell all of our syrup this year too.
You will.
And I hope we have enough. We may have to limit people to just 1 pint, per sale.
Drew,
No.
Drew, get my
No.
gun. Drew, right now, get my gun. I'm going to take care of this at the source.
That's it.
All right.
That's it. No, you can't.
You give us a commitment of a lot of syrup, and you'll see your grandkids.
No, we're hoping that we can do that. Yeah, we're having fun with it. We have some commercial accounts in the city.
The city?
Yeah,
That would be Worcester.
Yeah, Worcester.
I've
yeah.
heard of it.
Coffee places, and they make a cappuccino and a latte with our syrup in it.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
Was that you put
They call it a maple chino.
maple chino?
And I could give them a plug, but I don't know if I can do that. But
You can.
I can.
You can.
It's a bean counter.
Bean counter.
Yeah, on Highland
That's
Street
where it is.
and,
Yeah.
and Grove Street in Worcester.
I've been
So
there.
they sell our syrup there.
Well, I'm not an espresso guy or a cappuccino guy, but that could turn it around.
Oh, try it. Yeah, yeah. They're killing it. They're loving it. Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So that we have to take care of them, and then we have our retail customers. We have people stop in. We have a guy from Scotland, Connecticut, who comes by. First time he came by, he was coming from Shamura's Bakery in Indian Orchard, and he's kind of a foodie, and he's like, he's our age, you know. And he just drives around.
Maybe a little older.
Yeah, and he drives around and he just has things that he likes, and so he stopped at our house and he comes walking up the driveway, you know, and I says, "Can I help you?" He says, "Yeah, I want to buy some syrup." I said, "Oh, great," you know. So we have the sign, and the sign is actually working. So
It is working. It's a good sign. Yeah.
yeah,
And he's from Scotland, Connecticut.
yes, he is.
Did he come in wearing his kilt? And did you say, "Hey, lady, why the beard"?
No, there's no haggis here. You have to go home. No. Scotland, Connecticut.
Well, I mean, I would think a place like that is a tourist thing. They would run with it. But all right.
Have you ever been there?
Scotland?
Scotland, Connecticut.
No.
It's something. It was something. I used to ride my bike through there, and it was, you know, you'd blink your eye and you were gone. You were through.
Well,
I don't
that's
think
something.
Yeah.
Well, what was something about it? There was something.
Well, it was just, you know,
Just-
Is it the
nothing.
quiet
It was
corner
nothing. It
of-
was quiet corner of Connecticut.
Connecticut,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, there is a area called Quarry Corner
Yeah.
of Connecticut. I didn't
And
know
that,
that.
and that's Scotland is in it. And if you blink when you're going through Scotland, you're going to miss all there is to see in Scotland. So, and
Well-
Bob comes by and he's like clockwork. He
Yeah.
buys it. But I'm hoping that we have enough syrup to satisfy everybody.
Gosh, if I
How's that for a political answer?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it personally. And,
Good.
And I'll make sure you.
Actually, we brought some here. We can show you. We have some of this year's product.
Actually, that one is last year.
Yeah, this is last year's.
That's the light,
That's
That's
beautiful.
light.
Like, yeah, and they're all different
Yeah,
colors.
it's beautiful.
but we didn't get any light
We
this
didn't
year.
get any light this year, yeah?
Well,
And this is this year's product.
And that has a more robust taste, I guess.
yes, yes. Oh, that looks rich. That looks rich.
Yeah, yeah,
Whoa, beautiful stuff. Beautiful
yeah.
stuff.
So,
That's
so that's what we're doing.
I hid that light one.
Yeah,
there.
this one better go
I
back.
didn't let him know that we had any left.
Yeah. I just sold it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she, goes up and makes a little waffle by herself.
No,
I
it's
know.
not
I
open.
know you
It's not
didn't
open
do
yet.
it. I know you don't.
Our buddy down in Louisiana says, he says, I hide it in the jar.
In the draw.
In the jar. So the
Ah,
kids don't get it. His kids don't get it. They keep it in the jar.
Yeah, I know that accent. I had a 2-year government-sponsored vacation in Louisiana,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I know they keep it in a
In
jar.
the jar. Yeah.
So, Martha, you have to speak because I'm not saying he dominated the conversation, but he was a little more active.
I don't mind that.
You know. Well, okay. So it's been very good having you here. This has been very enjoyable.
Good.
About a subject. If you don't love this subject, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
I mean, you might not want to get as in depth as we might want to get.
Yeah.
But you gotta, if you're from New England, you gotta love this.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I think it makes a big difference, and the kids that try it love it. And I think that's that's something that we need to pass on. And I think I think people are coming around to that. They want things that are real. They want things that are local, and that's.
We forgot to mention that most every year we have a get together, usually later, like April or May.
Yeah.
And our house is not too big, so it's crowded with people, and we haven't been able to do that the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I understand under the
Hopefully,
current.
hopefully we can get back to that.
Yeah, we want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Next year, maybe.
We're all hoping to be liberated, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you go on Long Hill in West Brookfield, you'll see the bucket list sign. And you can, we're going to put up the email address. You better hurry up. This stuff goes like, shall we, pun intended, hotcakes.
There's a limit of one pint per customer.
No. First come, first serve.
Thank you very much. The Long Hill Report.